fine. Okay, babies. Got my dog down here, Reggie. He's nervous about the whole thing. But he's a good dog. I need to put a picture of him up. Went down and watched my nephew's baseball game today. They got mollywopped. Longest half inning I've seen in a long time. 13, 14 years old, some big kids hitting some. A couple of kids looked like they had professional swings. Their swing was super sweet swing. Welcome Saturday evening, August 31st, 2024. Week 1, college football. It's good to be back on the TV. As the description says below, I saw Taylor McGregor in one of the, I can't remember which game I was watching. Arizona, something like that. One of the later games. Woman is gorgeous. I didn't see a ring on her finger, so if anybody knows her, has connections to her, let me know or let her know. I'd love to go on a date with her. That's my shameless plug. I know she's a baseball sideline reporter as well, or dugout reporter, but I don't watch too many Cubs, Cardinals, Twins. I honestly don't watch that much baseball at all. I watch more highlights than anything. One, the Angels are terrible. They're never on TV unless they happen to be playing somebody good and it's like a Sunday night baseball. 2, even with the pitch clock, games take way too long. But mostly the Angels aren't on where I live, so I just don't watch a lot of baseball anymore, and that's a shame. I wish I watched more, and maybe I will in time, or listen to it on the radio. I think that's respectable. I work with a guy who listens to Cubs baseball on the radio sometimes during the day. I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, Hawkeyes 40, Illinois State Redbirds 0. They are who we thought they were. Both sides. First half, 6-0 at halftime. Iowa didn't look that good. Looked like the same old offense a little bit. The offensive line was getting pushed around. Moulton looked okay. I thought he looked decent. We didn't have any turnovers, I don't believe, across the board, so no fumbles or anything by the running backs. That was promising. Just got to hang on to the ball. Keep turning the legs. When Caleb Johnson came back in the second half, obviously he had a pretty quick and big impact. 2 touchdowns. I think he went over, I heard 119 yards. And he looked good out there. I thought all the running backs looked pretty good. If I were the coach, which I'm not, I would do a 1-2 punch of Moulton and Caleb Johnson. I would get number 8 out in different packages. I think his name is Washington Jr. He looks quick. I would get him, just even if it's just a distraction, I would get him out in the flanker position and run some things designed for him. I thought that Iowa's wide receivers looked pretty good today. I thought they looked very fluid out there in their routes. They were getting separation. They were catching the ball when the ball was thrown to them and was catchable. For young guys, I thought they looked really impressive. Now, that's no knock on Anderson and Um, the other guy too. I can't think of his name or number, but I would keep running Gill. I like Gill a lot. I know Van Whedon or whatever his name was got 2 touchdowns and a couple other catches, but I like Gill better. McNamara just completely missed him on at least 2 throws, maybe 3. That would have been 15 plus yarders. Uh, just catching it, and he looked like he had some open space, but um, McNamara can't just be throwing the ball up off his back foot, fade away into the end zone or at any time. Van Whedon, whatever his name is, I need to learn his name. Number 15, the freshman. He did the right thing. He went up and got the ball. There's a great play, touchdown. In hindsight, it's in the moment it's beautiful. In hindsight, it's like you can't be throwing that ball up there as a fifth-year senior, whatever he is. McNamara can't be doing that against good opponents. But 15 went up and got it, touchdown. Yeah, the tight ends, Ostranga and Lachey, Gill, Van Whedon, and the running backs we have, as long as the offensive line can hold their own, impose their will, and towards the second, third, and fourth quarters be getting 4 or 5 yards per carry. They'll be okay. They'll be in games as long as they don't turn the ball over. For the first half, it looked like our only offense was going to be that Wetjen kid, and punt returns. That first punt return he had, you knew he was going to take it to the house as soon as he caught it. There was just a buzz, and you could tell he was zoned in, and it's a shame. That was a block in the back, but he didn't need to do that, and he still would have scored. But take it off the board. Then there was that sack and fumble that we recovered it in great position, that there was a flag on the play, defensive holding, I think. Then there was one other penalty. We had penalties in the first half killed us. We would have had more points on the board. And, yeah, just uncharacteristic of Iowa. They'll clean that up, hopefully. But that's just uncharacteristic of them. I know it's first game and all that, but too many penalties in two crucial spots. But luckily, it didn't hurt them in this game. I'm really excited to see Wetjen back there in punt returns because, Illinois State, they're in the Missouri Valley. They're not that good. But you want to see the defense like Iowa play today show up, They played pretty well. They gave up some plays I thought they shouldn't, but they also made tremendous plays. And I haven't looked that closely at the stats or whatnot, but 0 points at the end of the day, that's going to win you ball games. They looked really solid out there. Linebackers are good. Higgins was everywhere again. Castro, he slid in there in the linebacker position because of different offensive formations, which is interesting, but I like that. He's a playmaker. Awamka or whatever his name was, he looked pretty good. He was making some things happen. Number 7 looks okay out there. He's got too much of a cushion, it looks like. He looks like he's a little scared, but once he gets some more reps, he'll be all right. Number 2 looked all right out there. Yeah, I really like the D line. We got Y.A. Black. He had a really solid game, as did Aaron Graves. Our defensive tackles are really solid, those 2 guys. But then we sub out a couple. I got to learn their names. We're gonna miss Joe Evans for sure. He was a gamer. He was a spark plug. But you can probably hear the dog licking his leg back here. Hey. Deontay Craig and Herkel, is it? I like those 2 DNs. They're smart. They know how to play that position, and they can wreak some havoc this year. So between the D line, the linebackers, and you got Castro, you got Schulte back there, I think is his name. Iwamka. We'll be okay. They got to make things happen, and they did today. I think they were +2 in the turnover department, so right where they left off last year. Phil Parker is a genius. All those defensive assistants he has are geniuses, and they work those guys hard. They know where to put them, evaluate talent, get the most effort out of them. So the defense not worried about. Yeah, excited to see Wetjen in the punt return because that defense will make some stops this year. So if he can just stay electric, stay healthy back there, he's going to make things happen. He could be this unwritten story that sets the college football world ablaze. This tiny little white kid from Iowa, reminiscent of Tim Dwight, making people pay attention to Iowa football again. But we'll see. They got to take it one game at a time, one play at a time. Can't put anything in front of them. I think 25 is a fair ranking. I don't give a shit about rankings till the end of the year. They're fun to talk about and all that, but they don't mean anything at this point, especially week one in the preseason polls. They don't mean anything. I think you should start ranking them like after week 5 or 6. But if we're going to rank them right now, I think 25 is fair or not ranked. Iowa State will be a good test for them. I'm not sure how good Iowa State is, and I'm not sure how good Iowa is, but we'll find out who's the better between those two teams next week. Big rivalry week. My feelings for Iowa State. I've said that on here before, but I hope we beat them 40-0. And I hope we beat them 73-0 and really make a statement. And Kirk Ferentz goes through 12 pieces of gum. I'm not one of those people where when Iowa State is not playing Iowa, I'm cheering for them. I'm cheering for whoever's playing Iowa State every week. I don't like Iowa State. I never have, never will. I think they are the epitome of little brother, and I'll just leave it at that. It's always been a rivalry to me. Growing up, it was a rivalry. Now, do I have friends that are Iowa State fans that are great people and salt of the earth people and family people and God-bearing people? Of course they are. This is nothing against them as people. I just don't like the university or their football team or their football coach. And I think it's okay to have a little bit of hate in your heart as long as you balance it out with even more love. As cheesy as that sounds, I think the world is a yin-yang of sorts. It's constantly looking to balance itself. That's why you can find level. That's why you can find level in this world. But anyway, Iowa State, I could have swore they played it in Ames this year, but they play in Iowa City next Saturday. It's at 2:30. Next Sunday is my daughter's birthday, and she's wanting to do a birthday party on Saturday, which normally happens. It's not like her birthday changes, and they play the same weekend every year. I am more than happy to watch the game later. I am happy to attend and be there at my daughter's birthday or festivities, whatever she wants to do, as long as she wants to have me. She's becoming a teenager, so I don't know how much longer she wants me at her birthday parties. So I'm going to soak up every last one of them. Football, as much as I love it, as much as I'm here doing a podcast about it, it's just a game at the end of the day. There are way more important things or way more significant things going on in the world and people's lives. I'm not unaware of those things. And one of those things that's way more significant and important and lasting is kids' birthdays or monument. Not even that, just being there for people and especially your kids. I'm not telling you anything new or groundbreaking. I'm just saying, um, I won't be watching the game live probably, and maybe I will because she wants to go to a hotel, but also do like an escape room and possibly some laser tag. There's a place in town that has both of those things in the same building. Um, we did an escape room, her and I and one of her friends, probably like 3 or 4 years ago during the pandemic. So they were a little younger, but they were relying heavily on me to figure out these clues, and I was struggling big time. And we did not finish, so I felt the responsibility of that loss that fell on my shoulders. I still haven't forgot that, but it was fun. And after they told you the clues, after they went through it with you, you're like, oh, yeah, maybe. I mean, hey, don't chew that. No, 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 no. You're like, what? Like we were supposed to figure that out, and some of them you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But they had some guy led you in the room and told you the backstory and got you going on the first clue, and then he's like, I'll be watching you and helping you. You can call me twice or 3 times or whatever it is for a couple clues, but that's it. Um, And so after a while, like we got stuck on the second clue for like 10 minutes and you're in there for an hour. And he PAs into the room and he's like, I see you guys are stuck. Let me give you a clue. And he reads like some jingle over this intercom system to us, and we're still like, you know, but it was fun. They had a good time. We went through our 2 or 3 phone a friends in like the first 20 minutes, so we were out of them. Finally, at like minute 50, we were like 6 clues in out of 15. It was evident that we weren't going to finish. We were like, hey, can we ask you another question? He's like, sure. And we still didn't finish, but yeah, we had a good time. So that's what she wants to do. She wants to do another escape room and laser tag. We went last year and played laser tag. One of her friends, my ex-wife, and I. It was adults versus children. There was like 3 or 4 other kids on their team. And my ex-wife and I whooped them. It wasn't even close. I was number one. I finished number one on the stat board at the end of the game when they put it on the TV. It wasn't even close. The kill shots or whatever you want to call it. And I told him, as we went in there, I was talking all kinds of smack. Like, you went in this room and put these vests on, get your guns, and they like play some video with the rules and stuff. But it's like this alley where it's like smoky and dark. And I'm talking shit the entire time. The video is playing, and there's these 3 or 4 kids that we don't know. They're like teenagers, and I'm talking shit to them too. and I took it to them. I told them I was coming after them, and I was all over the place, and yeah, that was a good time. But she wants to do that, and then they want to go to a hotel, and they'll just dig around. And her only request is they have a pool and a hot tub, and so I gotta find a hotel around town for a pool and a hot tub. Probably get them just a boatload of Chick-fil-A or something like that, and yeah, and just I'll hang out there for a while, and then I'll probably duck out of there, let my ex-wife take over from there. But anyway, other games I watched today. Georgia looked good as always. I mean, they've got athletes all over the field. That interception, if you haven't seen that highlight by Starks, I think is his name, Mekhi Starks or something like that, right along the sidelines. Incredible interception. They look unbelievably good. It's unfair how good Georgia is all the time. I saw somebody or a couple of posts about how every time Georgia plays on a neutral field, it's only in Atlanta. It's essentially a home game for them, which is very true. But they just dismantled Clemson. Clemson's not that good anymore. Florida State has to play them this year. and that'll be a tough game for Florida State, but it's just not the Clemson of the past. So that's nice to see for me as a Florida State fan. I don't like Dabo or Clemson all that well. I respect them. I mean, had good players come through there, good programs. Obviously, they won the national titles. I'm glad their reign is kind of coming to an end. It looks like, at least in my opinion. Texas looked as good as ever advertised as well. They look really talented. Athletes all over the field. They're big. Both quarterbacks. Ewers, of course, looked polished, and Arch Manning looked really talented. So they look scary good. I did watch quite a bit of the Miami-Florida game. The Hurricanes went into Gainesville and just dismantled them. It was not as close as the score resembled, which was 45-17, I believe it finished up. Miami could have put up 70 on them probably. Miami looks like the real deal, as much as it pains me to say that, being a Florida State fan, but they look like they're going to be tough this year. Cam Ward is who he is. He's even better with more weapons around him and the momentum at Miami. But they look really good. So and they flashed their schedule up on the TV screen, and Miami looks like they have the easiest schedule in college football. It's like, what is this? So that's disappointing that they have a cakewalk, but hopefully Florida State can play them tough, maybe knock them off. It's a rivalry game, so you never know what's going to happen in those. I would definitely say Miami has the advantage. They should be about 10, 12 favorites against Florida State, and it's at Miami. But Florida State, it's a rivalry game, so you never know. And Florida State has talent too. Their defense, we'll see what their defense looks like this week, and I can give you a better analysis of what I think Florida State's season will look like based on the defensive performance against Boston College at home. But anyway, Miami looked really good, and they're a tough out. I think they'll get themselves into the playoff. Who else did I watch today? I did watch Oregon and Idaho. Idaho is usually very good. They're no pushover by any means, but Oregon not necessarily struggled. It was just a good fight, and that's giving respect to Idaho that they deserve, because they played really well. They had a 4th and 2 where they were down by a field goal, and Oregon went for it and actually scored a touchdown, but if they would have stopped them there, they actually had them 4th and 7, but offsides on the defensive line. He jumped on a hard call. Maybe because on that play they threw a fade into the end zone. It was way out of bounds. So anyway, game of inches. Oregon goes on to win that one. Oregon, I do not think will make the playoff, but that's just me. I watched a little bit of Ohio State. They look good as advertised. I watched a little bit of Michigan. They did not look that good. I didn't think they were going to be that good this year anyway. Davis Warren won the quarterback position, and he looked mediocre. I mean, not terrible, but he looked good. I shouldn't say mediocre. I just don't think the interior and defensive line is as good as they have been in the past couple of years, especially last year. I just don't think they're the Michigan of the past. With that being said, I think they lose a couple of games that, maybe they sneak in, but what I saw today, I think it'll be tough. Washington was struggling a little bit when I watched them. I did not go back and see how they were doing. I think they're still playing as this is posted. I watched a little bit of Nebraska. They looked pretty good. The quarterback looked really good. Strong arm as advertised. you knew that Matt Rule can recruit. So this is what, year 2 or 3. So he has to. His players are coming in there. Uh, he's aligning his pawn and his rook and his, um, you know. But they look good. They're going to be a tough game this year. I did watch a little bit of Iowa State. They seem to struggle a little bit, but I mean, I wouldn't say struggle. They were just kind of tripping over their own feet. They never got a real comfortable lead till like the mid fourth quarter. But North Dakota is a solid team. We'll see Sama or whatever, Samu. He left the game. I don't think he was. He'll definitely play next week. I think he just was banged up a little bit, and they didn't want to risk it anymore, which is smart. That Bacon kid on the defensive side, though, that's a big loss if he can't go next week or longer than that this season. He's a good player, but we'll see. Neither team really showed too much, but they got to line up and knock each other around next week, and the best man wins. So I'm glad that's in Iowa City next week. I could have sworn it was in Ames, but yeah, Iowa State next week. That's a big one for the state of Iowa. Kirk Ferentz returns to the sidelines. Seth Wallace did a great job. I thought he handled the interviews perfectly. He's a stand-up guy. He's been there for a long time, worked his way up. That will be a trivia question. If you all remember Stump the Schwab on ESPN, when ESPN had a little bit of a respectable programming and personnel on TV. Rest in peace, Schwab. He passed away earlier this year. But he knew the most obscure things. But that could be a question on Stump the Schwab. Since 1979, there have been a total of three coaches that have been on the sideline to coach an Iowa Hawkeye football game. Two of them are Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz. Who was the third? Seth Wallace, 2004 or 2024, excuse me. But yeah, congrats to him. That's quite an honor to coach the Iowa Hawkeye football team. What a rare thing to say in this world today. And Seth Wallace can, drink to that the rest of his life. That's pretty cool for him. But hats off to all the players and coaches. Without Kirk there, it was business as usual. They even said that in the telecast. And it was, they handled business and on to the next one. They got to clean some things up, the penalties. McNamara missed some throws. Gill was open, like I mentioned earlier, on at least a couple where they had layered it. And he was the top layer, and like the tight end came across, and he just missed McGill. He didn't, I don't know what he's looking at there, but he missed McGill. They'll watch some film there. 37 on defense. Kyler Fisher or Kylan or whatever, he looked really good, man. They referred to him as the star position a couple times, and that's cool for what he does. It looked like on third downs is when he was in there, but man, I'd like to see him get some more playing time. He found the ball and he made a tackle or made a play every time I was watching him. So 37, Kyler Fisher. I'd like to see more out of him and keep your eye on him. Castro had a pretty solid game. I already mentioned Y.A. Black and Graves in the inside. They had great games. I think they had 2 or 3 sacks. Harris got that pick. A couple other times he was playing a little bit soft, but on that pick he played it perfectly. They just got to come to play. The punter looked okay. He wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. He's got to get some boomers in there, and the crowd will love him. But he missed his chance in that very first one in the subsequent punts to really boom one, because the crowd would have loved him from there on out. We're really waiting for the big one. But yeah, so I'm trying to think if I watched anybody else. Texas A&M and Notre Dame, I watched that a little bit. Both teams look pretty solid. Notre Dame ended up pulling it off at the end. Tennessee, they looked really good from the highlights I saw. Northwestern, I watched a tiny bit of. I mean, they look like Northwestern. Fitzgerald's kid, I think, had a pick while I was watching it, which was pretty wild. Let's see, who else did I watch? Watched a little bit of Alabama. Saw some highlights of that freshman receiver they have that's outstanding, number 2. Jalen Monroe looked fantastic. Alabama looked tough. I don't know who's going to win the SEC or like which 2 or 3 teams get into the playoff. There's so many good teams in the SEC. I liked Oklahoma the other night. They looked really good. So I got Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia coming out of the SEC. Like who are the 2 or 3, 4 teams that come out of that? That's going to be a battle. LSU you could throw in there. Oh, Ole Miss, they're going to be in there as well. Like, yeah, it's a crazy. Hats off to them for being a tough conference, but damn, Ole Miss looks really good. Jackson Dart, I like him at QB a lot. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I watched. It was just good to have college football back on TV, man. You can feel fall kind of in the air. It's still pretty toasty out. It looked super, super hot in the Miami Florida Gators game. Florida did not look that good at all, man. Mertz got hurt. He looked pretty pedestrian. And then DJ Lagway, the hyped up QB, came in. I mean, he's big. He looks like Anthony Richardson 2.0 to me. But I'm just a layman. He's very talented, I'm sure. Throwing him in that game and that part of the game where they're already getting whopped. It's pretty nerve-wracking for a true freshman, but it is what it is. Florida or Miami goes up to Gainesville and just stomps them. Can't believe Restrepo is still at Miami. He's been there forever. I think he looks like Michael Richards from the movie Problem Child, if you remember that. I think that's the name of it. He's like a fugitive on the run. I think that's what Restrepo looks like. But, yeah, the SEC is loaded. So my playoff teams, and I don't even know. There's 12 playoff teams. I think Georgia for sure. I think Ole Miss for sure. I think Texas. I think Miami. I'm going to go with Ohio State. Tennessee, Alabama, Oklahoma, LSU. I'm going to go Alabama, Tennessee, maybe. I don't know. Penn State. I don't think Penn State's that good. Personally, maybe that's just because I have a vendetta out against them. But so I'm going to go Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas, Miami, Ohio State. That's 5 teams. Who do I think wins the Big 12? Probably Oklahoma State. Maybe. I have no idea. So Oklahoma State, let's just say they win because they're an automatic. So that's 6 teams. I don't know, man. It's tough. Probably another team from the Big 10, but who? Oregon? Michigan? Penn State? No, I don't know. Maybe it's just Ohio State. I don't know. It's way too early to be predicting that. But yeah, glad college football's back. There's still some games going on right now. I think LSU plays somebody tomorrow night, Sunday night, and then Florida State plays Boston College at home on Monday night, Labor Day. So I'll be excited to watch that one. So thanks for tuning in. Go Hawks, 1-0 next week versus little brother Iowa State. We'll see you then.